want to share something. I'm not immediately out of the chute trying to sound self-serving, but here's the thing. You cannot understand what's going on in the Antarctica until you understand that under Heinrich Himmler and under the Third Reich, they went into realms of the occult, searching through volumes, literally tens of thousands of volumes of different esoteric literature, what some people call, and I agree with them, satanic writings, also the leftovers of any type of ancient history, myth, or legend that attributed any of its strength to the supernatural. So the reason, to quote Dr. Werner von Braun and also Dr. Hermann Oberth and others about the Nazis being able to develop the rockets, flying saucers, and they really did, working on nuclear weapons, and also stargates. Now, for the record, for a number of years, there were certain individuals that were in the Deep Black program that would give me stuff to tell. And they would give me stuff to tell in order to get people prepared. And I thought that, people would just be loving it to hear this stuff and would do something about it. Guess what, Doug? My biggest disappointment was guessing wrongly, and their biggest statement to me, which is right, that said, Steve, you care, but most people don't. Now, just why Antarctica is in the news is simple. Because underneath the ice, and I will say this, that there is a way, a system that I was told to artificially generate ice, just like you hear of weather control, weather modification, all of the different what would you say, weather control and modification patents, of which there are hundreds of them, that the technology has existed. So if an advanced civilization and the Nazis that pretty much won World War II and then came or sued for peace with the United States were able to, if you will, create an ice cloaking mechanism, you can understand how they could stay hidden for so long. But inherent with the ice cloaking mechanism of the Antarctic as well as the Arctic, the North Pole and South Pole, are a little thing called volcanoes which become problematic. Doug, I was going through my website, just in my archives, and I want to read some of the forgive me, too many emails. And by the way, I don't answer emails anymore unless they're related to customers or clients. I just can't do it. I wish I would have had the strength of character not to do it all along, but I can't answer, just 4 questions that basically a person wants. I just can't do it anymore. I don't mean to be aloof, but after 25 years of talk radio and being on, a lot of, I can't say that word, a lot of people's, hey, Quayle list, I just don't have time for it anymore, and I believe the place that God has for me is warning people now of becoming supernatural warfare, and basically, the things that they don't see in the spirit realm that are going to manifest in the physical realm. The idea is simply this, that the announcement of ruins from futuristic civilization and the ones that have been hidden in Antarctica, there are going to be concurrent announcements made from world leaders at a given time. And guess what? The United Nations disaster beyond my ability to describe, even with made-up words, is going to orchestrate it all. I want everybody to ask themselves this question. Who is powerful enough to summon the world's religious leaders and the world's political leaders to a secret, if you will, revealing or a secret planning session to gain total control of the planet Earth and to, at the point of their choosing, make their presence known? Well, we don't have to play the Jeopardy theme song in the background. What is going on is that the God of this world, little g, who I believe is Satan, and his minions have ruled surreptitiously from both under the ice and off planet. And the thing that most people cannot even begin to understand is this, that when Jesus said, the whole world lies in the evil one, there wasn't a partiality, there wasn't a segmentation, there wasn't a percentage, and there wasn't a decimal point in that statement. In other words, the whole world does. I hope by the end of tonight people will wonderfully understand, maybe that's a good word, wonderstand, that's wonder and understand together, just what a magnificent offer of salvation and redemption that God has offered to those who will accept His Son, Jesus Christ. Now, people say, well, you need to leave out the spiritual stuff. What's coming, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have the power of God, you will absolutely be consumed by the power of hell. It's up to you. You know, Doug, before I came down here to get ready for the program, I just grabbed a quick bite, some lettuce and stuff, and the point being, there was some gentleman on Fox News, and he was talking about what the problem was with evangelical Christians and the fact that basically he was calling them cowards, but he said it in such a way that they won't. Here's what he basically said. Those of you who just watched it, I believe he's the author of a book, said, there's nothing they're willing to fight for. What a tragedy. So I categorically, and I identify with biblical realists redeemed by the blood of Jesus Christ, walking in a transformative experience by the presence of the Holy Ghost, repenting and believing that I am God's workmanship and not the workmanship of hell, though I was the workmanship of hell until God restored His image in me through the blood of Jesus. So what I'm saying tonight is this. You could no more get evangelical Christians, the majority of them, to listen to a presentation, to our presentation like this, than you could to get them to stand up for Jesus. Most people don't get that. So let's get right into the Antarctica. You have to ask yourself, who is powerful enough to summit? Well, the answer is the prince of this world. Who is powerful enough to cause a consistent and almost a simultaneous hate for the people of God? Well, the answer to that is the prince of this world, the prince of darkness. And now the idea is the closest thing on Earth to a mission to Mars is the Antarctica. The narrative is going to change from the Antarctica to Mars, and they're going to tie the Antarctica to Mars, and the Martian microbes seeded the life, and that under the ice in Lake Vostok and in the, if you will, the quiet, calm, tropical paradise that exists under the ice, which basically the Germans spelled out in detail, they're going to announce that the Martians created us. It's absolutely critical that people understand that the people aren't just going down to Antarctica for no reason. We now have the greatest manifestation of weather warfare through waves being emanated from ancient technology that's been switched on, turned on. Imagine this. Imagine a puzzle. Imagine scientists in different parts of the world, and I believe it was due to the timing and the grace of God, were getting pieces of the puzzle, but they didn't know how to switch on, if you will, the doomsday weather machines. Oh, they were able with 200 patents to pretty much generate the weather, and as the Russians claimed, they were able to take Tesla's patent, geodynamic energy, or telegeodynamic energy, and split the Earth if they wanted to, which, by the way, isn't an idle boast. But imagine, due to the timing of the rebellion on planet Earth, the full court press for the treasure of the universal worship of all men on the planet to Lucifer himself when he sits enthroned, that these pieces came together supernaturally and at a time that was appointed. Just as in the book of Daniel, it talks for the appointed time when God would release specific understanding and knowledge. That's what's going on with Antarctica. So now the thing that's fascinating is most people don't understand from 1976 to date, they claim that more than 21,000 meteorites have been found from Mars on Earth. So the question remains, how did all those Mars meteorites come to Earth? Well, the Jeopardy song goes back into play, but then you understand that there has been a cataclysmic war going on between good and evil, and God judged the fallen angels on the planet Rahab. And I presented this at the the True Legends Conference in Branson, and those who got the videos and were there or live stream know what that's about. So as I go to the show with you tonight, the things that I want to hit on, if you will, is that now we have, if you will, a total Martian book of creation that the peoples of Earth and the scientists of Earth are already getting ready to prepare the people on the surface of the Earth for. Now, as you know, Antarctica is not to be militarized, but that didn't apply to the United States because we've got plenty of military presence there. Within months, I told people that according to my sources, and my sources, I can't name them. Number one, I wouldn't, but number two, they've heard me say, and I do not want to know their name. I will stop them. They say, "Hi, I'm Ted, and I work with the U," and I say, "Don't. Stop it." I said, "I don't know. What do you want me to say? What information do you have for me?" I'll ask the person to give it to me. I obviously file it away, and then I ask the Lord. I said, "Lord, give me 2 or 3 witnesses to this information that are totally unrelated to each other." So that's how, Doug, that's the only way I can do it. And then as I say on your show, probably this line more than any other line I've ever spoken, take it to the Lord in prayer. Because, again, there are people say, "I don't think you tell the truth." Well, what you don't think doesn't matter. People who are praying and really crying out to God, saying, "Lord, where do I go to find out what's really going on from a biblical perspective?" A lot of them end up listening to you, Doug, and to the guests on your show, and obviously are brought to me through you and also my website. But I think it's important that people understand something, that Mars and the Earth could be, if you will, twin planets. We're so close to having the same spin axis. I'll just give this to people who weren't at Branson. Earth's spin axis is 23 degrees 44. Mars is 2398. 97.7 similarity. Earth's rate of rotation is 1,436 minutes. Mars's rate of rotation is 1,477 minutes, so a similarity of 98.2%. The amount of scientific endeavor that's taking place in Antarctica and the truth of Mars are the things that I guess if I could ask, and I do ask the Lord this, I said, "Lord, will you please reveal to your people your signature on this revelation?" Because look, Doug, in my final days, which are known to the Lord, years or months, whatever it is, I want them to count for Jesus. And the greatest heartwarming emails I get are, "Thank you. No one would ever answer my question about how all this stuff fit together, and you did." Obviously, there are people that will not accept it under any pretext, context, no matter if it stared them in the face or they were instantly taken through a Stargate to Mars. I've got to share with people that the Antarctic, there are people that have been to the Antarctic. Well, one of them is a very famous talk show host. His father worked for an aerospace firm after his company was bought out. I won't give his name on, but if you put 2 and 2 together, you'll figure it out. He's been to Antarctica as a child and literally could tell you stories, and I've been pushing him to, come forth and break forth because he's old enough that I don't know how many years he has on Earth, but his days are shorter than mine. So if someone's literally been to Antarctica, I'll pay attention to them, especially when they can validate and verify all the different stories that I've been told. Now, Antarctica, it's fascinating because the geothermal features of Antarctica, which are fed by a subterranean labyrinth of over 100, volcanoes, is absolutely an astonishing thing. It's a literal, if you will, world within a world. It would be the quintessential expression of Shangri-La or Shambhala. And without the cosmic radiation that is present to those on Earth, you could expect the longevity to be greater there. In other words, people could live to be older. It is my contention, and I've never said this before, based on what I know, based on who I know, and based on the information I've been given, that obviously those who have ruled the planet have succeeded in genetically cloning complete duplicates of the originator. They have completely succeeded in downloading the subconscious and the essence of a human. Now, the question I get asked, can they transfer the spirit if that person was created in the image of God can that transfer in? In other words, imagine someone who's a Christian, who's getting ready to die, and they basically embrace the dark side. Here's the key. Pay attention to the terminology, everyone. Do they have then that same, if you will, entity that they were when they were a Christian before they turned away from Jesus and are basically duplicated and downloaded? My answer is no, and it's a real simple thing. Because the new creation that God generates is in us, meaning we're the seed of Adam. We come to Jesus, we're considered the seed of the second Adam. That's what Jesus is called, the Son of Man. That's why we are his brothers or his sisters, but he is the Son of God, and he adopts us. He makes us accepted in the beloved. That's just basic Bible. So when you're talking about a situation that's taking place under the Antarctic, you've got to recognize this, that it's a pretty tempting and seducing thing to offer you that you can live forever and never die. And look at how advanced we're going to be. There's a gentleman listening to this show tonight. I can use his first name, Will, God bless you, who basically was approached. And if I didn't think I'd put his life in danger, he was spec ops guy. He now works as a federal agent. And the deal is, if I could get him to come on and tell the story about two people who approached him concerning me, and I don't know how long ago this was, Doug, because I don't mean to be losing track of time, but I live in the now. Today is the day of salvation. And by the grace of God, it's not senility. It's the importance of the day. He was approached by two people that basically, and when I tell these stories, people think it's bragging or whatever. It just is, and I don't have anything to defend. I have to answer to God for what I'm going to say. But they told him, they said, you need to talk to Quayle. You need to tell him what we're willing to offer him if he'll change his tune and start to take the people that listen to him, and they were aware of how many people listen, probably better than I am. And, if Quayle would do what we say, he could name his price, okay? And by the way, one of them drove, just to be specific, one of them drove an old Porsche racing car, I forget the number 9, and if that gentleman's listening, look, you guys now, somebody said Quayle's talking in code. No, I'm specifically speaking to the people that offered this. It sounded really good, but unfortunately, it's not good as eternity. These people went on to tell my friend about the world they see and that the advanced technology that exists on other planets and other places and blah, 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 a deal that no one could refuse except what? It isn't coming from the Spirit of God, and of course it was refused. So, Doug, what I'm trying to do now is my days on talk radio are in God's hands, and I'm shifting gears. I'm going into the unseen world that's going to be visible. If I could tell you how many times now Antarctica is coming up in conversations with people that I know or people who know what majestic or cosmic clearance is, you'd be amazed, ladies and gentlemen. You'd be amazed. So how do all these Martian meteorites get close to Earth? Well, listen, 700 BC, before Jesus, and actually I don't say BCE, I'll just say before Christ, and if I had my way, it would be before the advent of Jesus Christ, BAGOC or whatever, before the advent, you know what I'm saying, the initials. I would tell people that there was a war in heaven, that the planet Rahab, which I mentioned earlier, was judged. It was Lucifer's planet. And that's where the asteroid belt came from, and that's where the Obadiah chapter. There's only one chapter in Obadiah, and it says, "Though you exalt yourself amongst the stars, yet will I bring thee down." The idea is simply this: that God brought the planets into a series of orbital confrontation, and the electrical discharge between those planets, according to Roche's limit, caused the breakup of the planet Rahab, and that incidentally, those fragments must have hit Mars, as Mars was a whole lot closer to the Earth, according to Aristophanes, famous Greek scientist. the former head of the Alexandria Egyptian Library, who had ancient writings that, by the way, proved the Earth was round in 235 BC, and he had calculated the circumference of the Earth within a couple thousand miles, Doug. Now, obviously he wasn't worried about a flat Earth, and NASA didn't exist then, and obviously there was no concern. And that will be published on my website in the next couple days. So getting away from all the nonsense, Antarctica is probably the most important point on the planet, because these waves of energy that are being shown that YouTubers are talking about, there is a new form of energy from an ancient form of technology that has been activated at this time. Everything in the world that God created was in perfect balance. And I've talked to people that said, man, I don't know what's going on. I can't think. It's like my whole field in my brain is different. People talking, I'm talking about people who are athletic, they're not suffering from any type of malady. They're people who are normally lucid and coherent. I'm getting those emails from all over the world, but guess what? The most important people, when I say this, who are being affected are the ones that are within the beam angle or the waveform trajectory of Antarctica. It's fascinating, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
So we're talking, I'm sorry, I thought you might want to say something there. We're talking about various new life forms that are going to be announced. I'm talking about Antarctica. We're talking about the coordinated and synchronized release of information. The conduit between Antarctica and Mars is going to increase. The idea that Antarctica, you talk about frozen in time. My answer to that is, what happens when time what happens when time no longer is frozen? What happens when the people on this planet finally get to see to the degree of what has been hidden from us? And of course it'll be pitched as to, it was for our own benefit. The idea is simply this, that under the control of the intelligence agencies who obviously make deals, the CIA was an offshoot of the OSS after the breakup of, the unofficial surrender, if you will, of the Nazis at the end of World War II. After 1947, secret agreements are made, Operation Paperclip, the best of Germany's intelligentsia, their scientists, their banking and pharmaceutical industries are brought to the United States, given fake IDs, false IDs, and put into service. And in essence, they have a new master now. But unfortunately, the new master was just had the same strings attached to the old master who's controlling the shots. Do you hear what I'm saying, Doug?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yep.
It makes sense, too.
If you can say it any clearer than I can, please feel free to. So now we have, if you will, the Nazi stronghold underneath Antarctica, and whether that some people get offended at that, forget it. Let's just call this, okay? Techno-Luciferians who have joined together, that the same evil spirits that pretty much controlled the world until God bound enough of them to allow the gospel to be preached and the nations that obeyed God to be prosperous and blessed. But now it's all coming to a head, because we're in the time where everything that is going to be, made known, that's been veiled, that's been hidden, will be used and released in order to subjugate and destroy anybody that won't go along with the New World Order.